RNC Chairman Michael Whatley is with us this morning in studio. Michael, great to have you in.
It's good to be in.
Good to see you. So I want to ask you about Ronna McDaniel and her, what she did at the RNC and maybe what she got wrong. Her legacy, I think, is not going to be great. Bad elections for Republicans in 2018, 2020, and certainly in 2022. We were expecting this red wave that never really materialized. As you see it, what did she get wrong?
Look, the biggest thing that we have right now is that we are coming out of a primary. We are coming into a general. We have a nominee. We had the last 4 years without a president in the White House, without a nominee, and the RNC was on that type of a footing. Today, we have a nominee. We don't just have a nominee. We have Donald Trump as our nominee.
Right.
So our fundraising is absolutely going through the roof. The excitement that we're seeing all across the country, we are taking all of our operations and merging them with the president's campaign. So instead of having two political operations, we have one. Instead of having two communications shops, we have one. Same thing with digital, same thing with data. Everything that we're doing right now, we're making sure, yes, we're coordinating with the House and the Senate about those campaigns, but we are merging with the president's campaign to make sure that when we go into these battleground states, the entire Republican Party is completely unified.
Okay, good point. But in 2018 and 2020, Donald Trump was in the Oval Office, and those were not good elections. Trump was not reelected. 2018 was not good for the House or the Senate. And the big issues, and the reason I ask is because it's so important that the RNC and the GOP correct this. Otherwise, it's not going to be good in 2024. I'm talking about things like ballot harvesting, vote by mail, early voting, things that Democrats seem to fundamentally do better. How are you going to address that?
Look, everything that we do is going to come down to winning. There are two big things that the RNC has got to do, two critical core missions. Those are get out the vote and protect the ballot. So in order for us to get out the vote, we are going to work on ballot harvesting where it's legal. We are working very aggressively on early voting. We've got a campaign that we're running right now called Build the Vote or Bank the Vote, which is dedicated solely towards making sure that the 50% of American voters who are going to vote before Election Day
is that the
are
number?
Fully formed. We will be
50%?
over 50% of Americans are going to vote before Election Day.
Wow. Okay.
And so we need to talk to them before they vote. So we are building that program out as we speak. We are working on reaching out to the Hispanic community, the Black community, the Asian Pacific community, and bringing those folks over from the Democratic Party. They're leaving the Democratic Party in droves. We want them to go past independent and over to Republicans. Every single day we're building out those relationships. So we are going to absolutely get the vote out. And then on the flip side, we're going to have election integrity. We're going to protect that ballot.
So important.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you about that 50%. So it's no longer Election Day, November the 5th. It's an election month, especially 2020 with those temporary COVID rules that were shifted so people could vote by mail. I want to ask you about, and it seems antiquated, and my dad always does this. For years, he would vote on Election Day, and he still does it. And I said, Dad, what if it snows? What if the weather's bad? What if something happens, all right? How do you get that message through to people who are going to vote for Republicans that you don't have to vote on Election Day? You can vote before the election. And I know that that's not going to be popular with people that are watching right now that pride themselves on voting on Election Day, but it's hurting Republican candidates.
Yeah, every single state across the country, we basically are voting three ways, right? You can vote on Election Day, you can vote by mail, absentee, or you could vote early. And so what we want to do in those states is make sure that every voter knows their three options, or if it's only two options, whatever the case is, right? Know the state law, know your options, and then make a plan. How are you going to go vote? When are you going to go vote? Because then they'll stick to it, right? And then we need to make sure that we're communicating with them as we go forward. Look, I vote on the first day of early voting every year because I don't know where I'm going to be on Election Day, right? I'm going to be running around the state of North Carolina. Now I'm going to be running around the country. But you got to make a plan, and you got to know that you're going to go do it and get that vote in. We don't care if they vote early. We don't care if they vote on Election Day. We just want them to vote.
Okay, Lara Trump, the former president's daughter-in-law, elected your co-chair. Was she the right choice for that job?
She is absolutely the right choice. They could not have a better co-chair. When we want her on air, she's on air, and she's fantastic. When we want her to work with the grassroots, she works with the grassroots. She's absolutely fantastic. She can raise money with the best of them. Never had a better co-chair.
Let me ask you about this Politico piece right after you took over. So this is last month. Again, that word bloodbath at the RNC, Trump team slashes staff at the RNC. Up to 60 staffers were let go, including apparently several senior positions. So you went in, you cleaned house. What weren't these people doing that you needed them to be doing?
The biggest thing that we saw was a need for us to come out of a primary mode and go into a general election mode. We knew when I came in that Donald Trump was going to be the presumptive nominee. We know we're going to go up to Milwaukee in July and we're going to formally nominate him. So we needed to make sure that the RNC is built to run and win a general election. That's the thing. We wanted to merge our operations.
Did you hire
with
new
the presidents.
people?
We have absolutely staffed up.
Okay.
We are going to be staffing up. I think that we're going to be building throughout the course of this election, from maybe 100 people to 500 people plus, right? We're in the building right now mode for the general election. That's the key, right? Everything that we do at the RNC, every dollar that we raise is going to be spent on winning, and we're going to win by getting out the vote and protecting the ballot.
Okay, a couple quick ones. And you had a big march. I think something like $66 million, at least that according to The Hill. You've called Donald Trump a fundraising juggernaut. You've got an event this weekend. Melania Trump just announced that she's going to hold a log cabin event down at Mar-a-Lago. So it's on. We're in general election mode now. Is any of that money going to be allocated for the president's legal defense? In the past, you've said no.
No, it's not. The president has
What
made
if he
it
asks
clear.
you for it?
The president and his team have made it clear they are not going to ask for it. We are not going to be using this. We want our dollars to be led on target. We are going to spend our dollars to win, and that's going to happen by getting out the vote and protecting the ballot.
What was your dynamic like with Ronna McDaniel?
I had a good relationship with Ron. I was actually, she asked me to be the general counsel for the RNC. I think that the RNC was operating in a different frame because we did not have a nominee. We did not have a general election mode like we are today.
Yeah, any idea where she goes from here?
I don't. I've had a couple different conversations with her, and she's going to be able to move on, and she will always be helpful to the Republican Party.
All right. New RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, congratulations on your new job. We'll see you back in the Tar Heel State. Good luck to you, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Lots